Bloody hell, that were long. Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. It's time for your Leeds versus Portsmouth, Daniel Farke, first game of the season press conference reaction. We are back, baby. I can't lie to you, I've been excited to do this video. And then as it went on and on and on, I was thinking, oh, for God's sake, here we go. But big up to everyone. We've got loads to get into. We'll go through the main headlines. We'll get into the fine minutiae detail as we always tend to do. But before we do, smash me a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit that notification bell. Yeah, let's check the temperature in the chat. Let's see how everybody's doing. Big up to Josh. Another season of bloody Farkeball. It's the best thing you'll ever get, mate. Another season of miserable. Solomon, cheer up. In Farke we trust, says Thomas. Big up to Jack as well, my guy. L, is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing. 90 points tells me not. F my L, the look. Turn YouTube on and here we go. Yes, Joe. Yeah, always, every press conference I'm there straight after. You know this. And if you don't know this, then get to know. Played it very safe. I think he gave us a lot, though. He gave us a lot to be positive about as well. Big up to Stu, Tony, Alan, Jason, Mark. Big up to my guy, Jack. Lee Gunner didn't call me out. He sent us over, though. Big up to Lee Gunner. He's the GOAT. No one will work harder than that man. Looking like three at the back. Looking forward to that formation. Don't think it is, Lee. By any stretch of the imagination, mate. We played it once. I was wrong. It'll be 4-2-3-1, I think. Long answers for sure. Yeah, it always tends to be. It's the first game, though, right? First game. Transfer window's still open. Archie's left. Some of us left. We've got loads of new players coming in. Like, it's bound to be. It will slow down as the season goes. Looking so fresh and so clean. Lots of PRBS in there today. I don't think so. No, I don't think it. No, why do you think it's going to be free at the back? What have I missed? It's not 4-2-3-1. What did I miss? It's definitely not. Big up to you as well, Mike. Yeah, it was long, wasn't it? I don't know. Paul, why are you annoyed? Why are you coming away from that annoyed? That makes me scratch my head. Don't forget as well, tonight, folks, the White Rose Rivals returns at 6 o'clock. Talked a lot about reinforcements, he did. Welcome salam, brother. Hope you're doing all well. Abdul Rahman Al Khalifi, my guy, full squad. Big. That is big. Wöber is staying. No, I didn't say he wasn't. I haven't pushed that agenda, mate. I do. Unbelievable hard. Goodbye, old friend. Good day, old friend. Big up to Kirsty. Good afternoon, Joe. Excited to get back to the season. Not far now. We will be doing a watch-along of tomorrow night's game as well. Sheffield United versus Preston. Then we've got Leeds on the Saturday. Then on the Sunday, we've got Sheffield Wednesday versus I can't remember who. And then on Monday, we've got Burnley versus Luton. Keep it locked and loaded because rival watch-alongs starting. Leeds watch-alongs are starting. The championship season is upon us. I'm 100% in on Farke, as am I. Yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know about the three at the back thing. It's definitely going to be 4-2-3-1. We've only seen three at the back once, and that was in the first game. Big up to Max from Leeds lately. Hope you're doing well, mate. Hopefully see you soon. I haven't heard of you from a while. Reach out, mate. Let's get you back on. I'd like to have you back on. Big up to you, my guy. I've been watching a few of your bits. Legend, as always. DM, looking fresh, and big up, Joe. Thank you for me and for him. Top channel, Joe. Did he say much? We're going to get into it, Stu. Big up to Krishna Kerms, who's loving the content as always. We've got Rolling Wolf there as well. Love the top, mate. Yeah, this is an old one, this. But because I've been going gym and losing weight, like my old clothes are fitting into me. I put a t-shirt on the other day and I was like, man, looking hench, you know. Because they're all right up here, but then it's the eye, innit? It's the eye. Yeah, that little twinkle. That little twinkle in the eye, yeah, that little twinkle in the eye. Should be around for some reaction streams after the game. Yeah, of course, mate. If you're around this weekend, that'd be great, but I understand you've got your own stuff to do and whatnot as well. Right, let's get into it then. I've said hello to Jarl. Let's get into it. And big up to Damar. Nice to see you. Joe the Adonis. Soon. Soon come, bro. Soon come. Right, okay, biggest one of them all. The business is not done yet. We stay awake till the end of August. He was pretty persistent on any questions that were focused on transfers, that we will stay awake till the end of the window and do expect business to come in. He does say we will strengthen We will strengthen in some positions. We are not the finished article yet. I think he would have preferred to have had players in before and all that sort of stuff, but ideally it's not always the way the cookie crumbles, is it? We'll go right until the end of the window. Team news as well, huge. Everyone is available. That's music to my ears. I know he told us Bogle only had a dead leg, but you just never know, do you? But no, he said everyone is available to us as well. So I think that now, hot off the press, you'll be looking at Melier. You'll be looking at Bogle, Rodon, Strauch, Firpo, Ampadu, probably Gruev, James, Rutter, Nonto, Joseph. I think that's what it'll be. So big up to him. He says, I've rarely had this situation in my career to have everyone available for the first game. A dead leg in the last game for Bogle, but he's ready to go. Everyone is ready to go, which is absolutely fantastic. He spoke about pre-season. Obviously, we've spoken about pre-season. It's probably the best pre-season Leeds United have had in a very long time, if we're being totally honest. 5 wins, 5 on the spin. Look good doing it. Youngsters coming into the side. Joseph now staking a claim. I'm the new number 9. Rutter looking phenomenal. Ampadu back in midfield. You've got James DeBayo showing up. All these little intricate things have all culminated in probably the best pre-season Leeds United have had in a very long time. He does say it was a shorter summer break due to the playoffs. Obviously, we've had the Euros as well. Heartbreaking outcome. But pre-season, we were fully recharged and revered and on it again. Never tempted to overinterpret pre-season too much. I think, look, if pre-season goes well, you're buzzing. If it goes shit, you go, it's only pre-season. So I hear what he's saying. But for us, you can't help but feel confident based on the teams we've played, the results we've got and the performances we've seen. He said never to, I don't want to over-interpret it, but we've got a good group. We've had a good training camp, great training sessions, really, really good level. Friendlies, 5 wins, 5 games. You can't ask for more than that, can you, really? Big up to Robert Hall, who's just become a member of the Just Joe football show. Welcome, Robert Hall. I will be, during the season, if it's during the international breaks, where I can find a place, doing like a members-only stream where members can come in, a bit like a phone-in show, because I've got a hell of a lot of members, and I know they just contribute to help the channel and that, but it's about time we gave something back, so that's what I want to do. And then we'll probably clip some of them best bits up and maybe put them out onto a proper video, potentially. But I think it'd be nice if we could do something like that for the members. Big up to Devana Jr. Good luck to you as well. Good luck to Ipswich going into next season. He was asked about, next season, or sorry, the difference between last season and this. Are we better equipped this season now, 12 months on? He says, we've done business, really good business. What is that business? Alex Cairns, third keeper. Bogle, who's an improvement on the right-back position. We brought Joe Rothwell, more attacking, of course. He'll go as an option off the bench, I think. I think he's going to go with Gruev until we get a starting number 8. And we've also... Rodon's back. We brought him 4, I think. So this is for another day, but I got asked by my mate earlier, Sean, big up to Sean, what would I rate the window? And I said 6, and he went, really, that high, when you think about it? And I was like, yeah, we've made some great signings, but it's not amazing. But we'll talk about that another day. But he does, according to Farke, great business to bring in Rodon permanently. Bogle's a good signing. Rothwell, Aronson and Wöber back from their loans. Hard to compare after losing the best player in the league, of course, in Crysencio Somerville, and the highest talent in the league in Archie Gray, and then also he said a very good midfielder in Glenn Kamara. So when we think about that transfer window, it's been okay, I guess, because you've lost 3 very good players at this level and brought in some good players, some very good. I think Bogle, very good. I think Rodon, very good. I think Rothwell, good, But he said it's difficult to say whether we're better equipped, but the situation is much better. And I think we all agree that as well, right? The situation is much better this time around. I think we're a lot more confident going into this season. Not that we weren't last, but we can all be a lot more confident going in. But he does say it's difficult to say we're better equipped, and I guess he's right until we kick a ball. But the situation is much better. Last summer, we had lots of uncertainty about many players and loan clauses and exit clauses, etc., etc. Sick of hearing about them Santa Claus. Advantage now is the players and the staff know our values. We're going to talk about these values a little bit later on as well, because I love something that Farke said. And again, I'll come back to it. This is where the Farke propaganda starts, you know, because this man is underappreciated by the fan base from a management perspective, from a value perspective that makes this club arise like the phoenix out of the ashes back into the Premier League this season. But he says the players know the staff, they know our values, how we want to play. Our processes, I like how he says that, our processes, good basement to build on. We have continuity on our side. Much better without the uncertainty of last season. The group is better. Just speak about this at the end of the season. It will be difficult to improve on 90 points, but here's a kicker for you. For the last 3 championship seasons that Daniel Farke has participated in and finished till completion, he got over 90 points in every single one. So it would be against the mean if we didn't get 90 plus. Last 2 Norwich seasons, obviously he did get finished in one of them, but the last 2 he finished to completion, 97, 90 odd, us 90. More of the same, please. So it's a good basement to build on. Yes, he said it'll be difficult to improve on 90 points, but I think we will. And he says, you know, far from celebrating the group too much, we're on a good path. We've had a good pre-season, but now we have to prove it on the pitch. Some positions where we have to stay awake in the window for strengthening. We know them positions are centre midfielder, life back. Centre midfielder, I wouldn't mind a life back because we struggle with left back. So if we had a life back that stayed there forever, then we'd be good, wouldn't we? But centre midfielder, left back, and of course a replacement for Somerville and whoever else may leave. Just on Somerville, he was asked about Archie Gray and of course Crescencio Somerville. He said no secret that Somerville was named the best player in the league. You can't replace such a player one-on-one. Don't have enough money to do this in the Championship. We want to add another player in this position, but not on a one-on-one replacement. Too much pressure on the potential incoming, i.e. if we bring in Johnny Rowe, this isn't a Somerville replacement, this is just a new player, right? But they are going to replace him, and if they replace him with Johnny Rowe, then pièce de résistance. There's a reason every top club in Europe went after Archie. Yeah, I've had so many Leeds fans tell me he ain't all that, he ain't all generational and all that sort of stuff, but we will see. He also says Glenn was big for us too. He was out of favour at Rangers. We made money on him. Cooper's leadership and experience was important for the group. Losing Jadon Anthony is hard too. Difficult to integrate new players. Losing these players was one of the biggest reasons we were upset about losing the playoff final. He would have liked continuity, of course. He says we are confident and bullish. We try to find some good solutions. And good solutions we will find. I have no doubt about that. I have faith that they will get the business done. It doesn't stop me wanting to, you know, push them on and complain at times and all that sort of stuff. But we will be there. So, Farke on incomings and the signings and the difficulty in doing that, okay? He said, I wouldn't label it too much of a problem, but we are pretty picky. We are pretty picky with the players that we choose. You know, I stand for values. I want players who are desperate to defend this white shirt. And I liked when he went, and the yellow shirt. He made a nice little Easter egg in there. But he says, we want to have characters and great identification for the club. This is always a hurdle. On the other side, they have to have the quality to improve this group. Now, what this tells you is, for me anyway, that players that have been linked are up for doing that. I.e. Johnny Rowe, desperate to move to Leeds United. Other players that have come in, desperate to put on the shirt and, you know, and go all out to play for Leeds United. Otherwise, they wouldn't be signed. I think he's very key on this. It's a bit like Arteta. Arteta must demand that his players are married. He's got a bit of a mad flex where I want them married, I want them settled down. But I don't understand it. You know, I think Alex Ferguson was the same. You know, that's why, like, him and Beckham felt like he didn't want to marry in Victoria and all that sort of stuff. He had to see Victoria Beckham behind his manager's back. It's a madness. It is a madness, but some are like that, right? And you can sort of get it. But he said on the other side, they have to have the quality to improve this group. Would Lubicic improve us? Yeah. Would Johnny Rowe improve us post Somerville? Yes. Not when, you know, it's not a direct replacement, but where the squad is now, would Rowe improve us? Yes, he would, you know. But normally, when you want to have this great characters and quality players who can play an important role for the future, it costs money. And I'm in a pretty good and lucky position. We have supportive and ambitious owners. He did say this. We all know where we want to end up sooner rather than later. They're all pushing in the same, they're all pushing in the same direction. He says we still have to pay for some of the sins of the past. So this is why we need some transfer outgoings. So there's some clarification as to why we need to, it's whole PSR, FFP, and making sure we're on board with what's come from the past. I would like to know when that's going to stop. I would like to know when that's going to stop. Just some communication. I know people say I'm entitled or whatever, but it stops us going mad when it happens, right? If we're aware that we're still going to see this can kick down the road for another season or two, then we can look at that and say, right, okay, well, this is why. Not be told different and then, hear it. But he does say, in the past, there were difficult decisions to be in line with the financial rules. We had great transfer sums this summer, but we are only able to spend a fraction of it. I think Kieran Maguire said on JUSTJOE channel the sales of Somerville and Graham Mastro around about 25 million for us to be able to actually spend from that due to owing bills. I didn't know this until Kieran Maguire mentioned it, that any player sales you make now, there's a new FIFA ruling that says any money comes in has to pay off debts first before you can do anything with it. So not debts, owed transfer fees. So say if you own 100 million and you owe 100 million and you sell 120 million, you've only got 20 million. Do you know what I mean? Because it goes straight on the thing first, where I guess previously they were allowed to do a bit of a madness. And I guess it makes sense. And Nige D says it'll run till 2027, according to Kieran. I must have missed that bit, but thank you for that update there. But I do quite like that rule, if I'm being totally honest. I know it doesn't help us now, but overall, yeah, it sort of makes sense. So that 190 million, whatever we owed this year, which would have been about 75, I think, any transfer fees that hadn't been paid would have then, been sent to them. So that's where that is. Won a signed Nanto shirt from Football Prizes, buzzing now. We pray for the window to close. Yeah, let's hope so, Jack. I hope that for you as well. Thank you for actually going on and doing that, because it helps me, and it continued relationship and all, all that, it helps. Yeah. I know, right, Evie? Yeah, it is, isn't it? You're right, yeah. It is what it is. Right, okay, let me get back to it. I've lost my flow now. Where was I at? 1 second. So we still have to pay for some sins of the past. We had great transfer sums this summer, but we are only able to spend a fraction of it. So you have to be a bit more patient. We have to be careful with what we can afford. Yeah, we have to be careful with what we can afford. We want to be sustainable, and the club doesn't pay for our sins right now, i.e. they don't want to make the mistakes of the past. That's why, in my opinion, we wouldn't have signed a Jack Clark. That's why we wouldn't have signed these top-end players as much as we would have liked to. I don't think we'd go too far on it. And I know, and I'm guilty of it myself. We know this, I'm up and down, it is what it is. But I'm guilty of it myself, saying we'll spend that money. Well, we know why. Because not only can they not spend it, there's also a ruling now from FIFA that says you've got to pay your transfer debts off first before you can spend any of it. But that's the same for everyone. We're all in the same boat. It is what it is. Unfortunately, though, our previous owners left us with a lot of transfer debt. So any sales, So I guess my thing is, and I mentioned this on the Nanto situation, if more business is needs to be done, then we probably will have to see another exit. Maybe, because if you think about what's gone out and how much we can spend, and we brought in Road on, and then we're looking at Johnny Rowe, and that could be a big chunk of what we brought in from Somerville, some of that. Then if you do need a left back, you do need a centre midfielder, how's that going to look? Well, if a club's willing to say here's 23 million, then they might accept that, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully Nanto stays. I don't by any stretch of the imagination want to be selling this guy. I just think we might. but we'll wait and see. But he does say you have to be patient. I know I don't at times, but it is what it is. I'm a fan. I'm not a businessman. We have to be careful with what we can afford. We want to be sustainable, and the club doesn't pay for our sins right now. So he was then asked, because he obviously mentioned about targets and them having certain personalities, etc. So then Adam Pope says, so have you been let down by any targets that, you know, might have said, yeah, we're up for it, and then they're not? He said no, because we're not under pressure like last season when it was difficult to build a group. We have a good basement, and we are not forced to do anything. Like I said, the Jadon Anthony one, and that's why. And people think I don't rate him. I mean, it's clearly the manager didn't want him, and that sort of deal was sort of forced on us, kind of vibe, you know. He said, we have a good basement, we're not forced to do anything. We have players here who are fully convinced. We need to get this feeling in talks with players. Leeds is an unbelievably big name in English football. We know this. Many players are tempted to come here, a la Johnny Rowe. But they need the personality and behaviour that suits. We do work on in the background to fit this model. We have a great group with a strong bond and mentality. Never felt let down by any of my targets. Bit of a mad one, but hey ho. So, then Popey asked him, with Somerville going and him scoring 18 goals, are we going to see a system that shares the goals next season? And this is where his facts come into the equation, I guess. The gut feeling was we shared the goals last season. I think we're more so thinking from midfield, but he is right, because he does say Pirro scored, Bamford scored, Nonto scored, James all shared goals. He mentioned James getting double figures for the first time in his career, I think. We spoke about lacking goals in midfield, which is the area we're all aware of. Second half of season from set pieces and our defensive players, we worked on this topic and we're looking for more goals from midfield. Hopefully we'll get that from Johnny Rowe. We'll get that from Ilya Gruev, for example. He says we want to be more effective. We were top of XG in the league. That's a Jesse Marsh line. Didn't quite like that. Our conversion rate was not top, though. We missed chances. Many young players. This season, we want to develop them if we want to be there with the highest XG conversion rate. Now, moving on to the next part of our discussion. He was asked about the championship. Before we do that, though, let's see what Alex has got to say. Good news is we are in a better position entering the season compared to last season. That's the biggest topic of them all, isn't it, Alex? Chomping at the bit. So confident. Fit, ready, raring to go. Full squad. It's all good. It's all gravy, baby. Listen, we've got 829 viewers, which is amazing, so thank you all. 213 likes. Get them likes smashed up for me if you can. That would be amazing and massively help the channel. And subscribe. We're closing in on 31k. If we can get that, that would be class. So he was asked about the championship and, you know, about a potential Ipswich, for example, which is something that I asked Tom last night from Portsmouth, something I've asked, you know, Benjamin Bloom as well, because obviously I think the division's more competitive this year, but easier, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm not too sure. So, Farke on the championship. He did say it's always difficult to predict before the season starts. This league is definitely competitive. You couldn't predict something like an Ipswich promotion happening again because it was an exceptional thing for them. But I'm full of respect for our new opponents. This is Portsmouth, this is Derby, and of course that is Oxford. The teams who are relegated from the Premier League, Burnley, Luton, and Sheffield United. They are there with a strong squad, strong competitors and the newly promoted sides. For example, Portsmouth, I'm full of respect. If you're able to win League One and be a possession-based side with 97 points, you have the quality to play a solid role in the Championship. And I think the biggest thing for me, having spoke to the Portsmouth fan last night, Tom, if you haven't checked it out, please do. He thinks they'll come and have a go. And if they come and have a go, then that will suit us down to the ground a bit like Ipswich. We could be slapping them up 3s and 4s. Then we got into the budget, the nitty-gritty. Yeah, the big parts. We'll get into that. Evie says, until the window closes, I won't trust Wöber. I hear. So, Farke on budget and more, okay? He says you can never have enough, yeah? What about Rome Bueno mentions from Popey? Yeah, but he didn't really address them. He mentioned them, because we all know we're linked, but he didn't really mention them. Like, Farke didn't respond to it, because he doesn't speak on players, does he? But yeah, the Bueno one, nah. The Rowe one, I think that's quite far down the road, right? Sky Sports Lyle tweeted about it earlier on to say like it's on. Just give us a sec and I'll show you actually. Let's see if I can find it on the Sky Sports feed. It'll have been a while ago, I assume. A couple of hours now. I was out with the young uns. Do you see? I was out with my little uns this morning. 1 second. Here we are. Just for those that haven't seen it. I'll quickly shut it up. Leeds remain in talks for Norwich winger Rowe. It's understood the club are willing to increase the amount they can pay. Negotiations are ongoing and getting closer to Norwich's valuation, though no formal bids have been made yet. So having conversations right, and then went boom. Other clubs from the Premier League and abroad are interested in Rowe. This is something we need to be wary of. As I say, Raksaki looks like he's on his way to Sheffield United anyway. But yeah, that's the latest update. That was 3 hours ago. I'd expect it to get done pretty pronto. When Leeds United, when it comes out like this, like we've seen with Rothwell, like we've seen with Bogle, I think they'll get the deal done. Yeah, I think we'll get the deal done. Yeah, the Raksaki deal, by the way, it's a mad one. It's a mad one. Like, fair dues Sheffield United, and people will say I'm being salty and whatnot like that, but we're getting Johnny Rowe, so I'm not really arsed. But Raksaki's a great player. But what I will say, the deal's not great. Like, if you haven't seen the deal, folks, I'll quickly share it with you now, yeah? Crystal Palace will add a callback clause in any deal, so basically they can recall him at any time. They'll pay $1 million, but more than $1 million, which isn't such a bad thing. Like, I'm not just throwing shade. At the end of the day, Leeds United did pay $1 million for Spence. I don't think we paid 100% of his wages, though, so that's another kicker. And I've also read in certain publications that they've actually increased his wages than what he was on at Palace. So they're paying 100% and also paying him $1 million, and he can also be recalled. It stinks. It's not the best. If I'm being totally honest, I don't think it's the best deal. But hey-ho, it is what it is. They've got him, we haven't, and they'll think I'm being salty. But I'm just seeing it for what it is. But that's the latest updates on the transfer front. But let's get back to what Farke said on his budget and more. He says, you can never have enough. Every manager wants more. Every fan wants more, right? I would have loved to have kept Somerville Grey and to add even more quality, but to be honest, that's not the point. I know we're great in talks. I totally believe in our owners. Fair. They are ambitious and backers. We have to stick to the rules. In the years before, we had some tricky decisions in transfer sums and salaries. You have to pay for the sins in the past, but I feel backed. What I will say, and I know this won't do me any favours, but what I found quite interesting, what Kieran Maguire did have to say, was actually he was quite complimentary of Radrazani during the Championship and said he did really, really well. It's just when you went to the Premier League, he went a bit mad. But in the Championship, he did really, really well. To be fair to him. Can't stand him, but to be fair to him, he did say that. Right, okay. He says, you know what? I don't have a feeling that the club and the board and the owners are there to make my life easy or to please or to suit me. I understand my job. You know, it's the other way around. I've got to please them. I've got to suit them. I don't complain. When I think about last season, my aim was to bring stability to this club. I want to bring this club a group of players with great identification and a bond with the supporters, which is what we've got. And if we're being honest, as much as it stings us, they did sort of earmark a 2-year plan, didn't they? I know that's not good for us. We wanted to go up last season, but it is what it is. He said it was tough last season. I never made a secret once I took over. I want to be in the Premier League. I want to work with this club where it belongs, in the Premier League. I think Farke has unfinished business with the Premier League and believes with Leeds United, a club and the backing, that he can actually have a good, proper go at it. Because to be fair to him, with that Norwich, they spent nothing and he didn't really get a fair crack of the whip. With Leeds United, he's going to get that, especially with this ownership, right? He says, the only thing that works for me is hard work from my side, and this is what I try to give my knowledge, try to work on the values within the group of the staff and the players, and I try to bring my principles. And again, them values and principles we're going to speak about in a little bit later on, because there's something I want to make a real point of. He says, if you see us playing without the colours of the shirt, you can say this is Leeds United. I would have liked if we had been promoted at the first time of asking, but the reality is we have to accept there are financial rules, and perhaps sometimes the player develops quicker than the club, a la Gray, a la Somerville. After such a season, they should play in the Premier League, and we should accept this. We have to spend the transfer sums sustainably and wisely. And I don't think any of us have any ill feeling towards Somerville and Gray and want them to do well next season. On transfers, he said, I don't want us to overpay for players who are not worth it, because one day you will pay the price, and we've seen that ourselves. Diego Llorente, for example, many others. We are there with ambitious business, but realistic and smart business. I have total trust in our key people and the leadership group. Financial rules are sometimes hard to accept. They are, but yeah, tis what it is. Listen, folks, if you haven't already, smash me a like on the video. We've got 879 viewers, 289 likes. Let's get that to 300 if we can, my brothers and sisters. Right, let's get back to what else was said. Okay, Farke on Wöber's future. This was quite interesting. He was asked about Max Wöber. He said he was a bit longer involved in the tournament, the Euros. They got through to the quarters, of course, Austria. Lost to Holland. He said it was more difficult, and we had a good chat on the telephone when he was playing for Austria. Do you remember he said, I'm not going to answer my phone? Well, he was lying. Then he allowed him 2.5 weeks of holiday to clear his head and come back. The chat was, I want to be there and prove my worth. This is what he said to Farke. It's always the same. A player comes in and their last experience was relegation, and their reputation is maybe not at the top level with the fans. Okay, which we it's not even that though. He also left, right? So we get that, but he mentions like Georgie or Ilian last year, which is right. You know, we didn't think Georgie could do it, and Ilian, you know, some people still hate Ilian, by the way. But he says now everyone is fully convinced and singing their names. Max was a bit careful to be too loud within the group. He's keeping his head down. He wants to adapt, especially in the German training camp. You know, he wants to find his new place within the group. We sit together after the first 3 weeks of training, and he said straight away, knocked on my office door. He said, boss, sorry, am I allowed to come in? I'm 100% convinced I want to be here. If Farke's saying that in the press conference and putting that across, then he's staying. Like, Michael, but the next line he said, verbatim, 3 weeks after being in training, he knocked on my office door. Farke's thinking, what are you doing here? He says, boss, am I allowed to come in? And he said, I am 100% convinced I want to stay here. That's what he said. So if he goes back on his word now, then, you know, you cannot trust him ever, obviously, and Farke will bomb him out and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, yeah. So there we go. The same with Brendan. One good training session or game is not everything to win back supporters, but he has my backing. He has been good in training. They will need a few weeks until they are back to 100%. He says, I get the feeling they can play a really important part. He's really desperate to prove his worth. Let's not celebrate it too much. The actions are more important than the words. So he said that. You know, actions are more important than words. Damar's 100% convinced until Gladbach coming for him. We'll have to wait and see. But ultimately, he's gone to the manager and said it. You know? Listen, I don't think he's silly. He wouldn't say it if he didn't believe it. He can't help it if a player lies to him, can he? You know? Yeah, of course he did, though. Liam, he did. We don't need to do the grave thing. He did, though. But, yeah. We don't have to do that anymore. Anyway, let's move on. Farke on whether any players or one-to-ways within the squad have knocked on his door like last year. And this is where I want to talk about that values, the group, and what Farke's fostered within this team. Yeah? He says, no, not one player has been in my office to rule themselves out this summer. Not at all. He said, I'm not naive. We have good players and maybe there are talks in the background. Yeah? And of course, a player is allowed to think about transfers to the Premier League. But not one player has been in my office to discuss this. And he said, last year we sent the right message because we were brave. And people now, because we were brave last summer in bombing people out, even when we were only training with 11 men, even when the squad only had we had 3 keepers within the matchday squad and couldn't fill it. Yeah? We don't let the standards drop. These are our values. Now, Farke, and this is what I want to talk about, Farke doing that last summer has ensured that this summer we don't have no clowns like that. Even if they want to move Somerville, speaking to West Ham, clearly. Says he got a knock. Farke, boom. They've obviously had a conversation, doesn't play him. He's going to move to West Ham. But because it's all done the right way, he's totally cool with that. He's totally calm with it. And that's how it should be. And, you know, because look at the state of last summer. If you compare what was happening, it's mental. And because Farke's gone out with that hard line, this is what I'm going to do. You do not take the piss out of me, the football club. We've seen it with Charlie Creswell even, which would have put the shits up a lot of players, you know. Definitely. Because to do that to a lad who's, you know, then also to do it to Nonto and going into games without any, without a full match day squad, they're looking at it going, well, clearly this ain't going to fly. Because if it does, I might end up staying anyway, get absolutely booed by the crowd and hated for a few weeks until I score a goal. Is it really worth it? Nah, I'm going to get my head down and do it. And if I do that, and I behave in the right way, the club will let me move on anyway. And he's created that for me. So Farke deserves props for that. And I think we need to give him praise. Last year was the right message because we were brave, and people now, even if they want to, they will not come. You know, they will not come. And we won't let the standards drop, which I absolutely love. And then he was asked about centre-back. I've seen my man Jamie mention centre-back before. I've seen a few people mention it. He said, I was not sure about adding an additional centre-back before pre-season started. Clearly was looking at it. But because of what I've seen from Max Wöber, I was doubtful initially how he would present himself after he came back, but he's come back. Now I'm not doubtful. I can count him as a centre-back. He said we've allowed a few academy products to impress in pre-season, so he throws James DeBayo in there. So now I'm quite relaxed in the centre-back positions. And I've said for a while, it don't make sense for us to go and get another centre-back right now when you have Wöber, Rodon, DeBayo, Strauch, and also Ampadu. And he mentions Ampadu being able to play there as well. But it's the fact that he mentioned him as an emergency as well. So anyone who thought, I know there was some, were saying, he'll play my centre-back, he clearly walks. He mentioned him as an emergency option there, so he's going to go back into his normal sixth position, which we're buzzing about. So yeah, James DeBayo quite relaxed in the centre-back. He said, of course, if Virgil van Dijk calls tomorrow and says, boss, I want to join you, we'll have a conversation about it. And if we get a big injury while we're in the transfer window, you never know. But at the minute, no, I'm good. And he says James has used his chance. He caught my eye in pre-season. And he's with the squad, and I rate that because I think he's caught a lot of our eyes in pre-season as well. And I did like what he said. To tell you a secret, he's probably the player I'm most strict with. I'm trying to correct him, but it's always a good sign when I moan at a player. He has earned a spot, and rightly so. And who was the last person that he used to speak about that like that with? It was Archie Gray. He used to say all the time, I'm so hard on Archie Gray because I could see the potential in him. So maybe James DeBayo has a good future in the game, and he's overcritical because he wants him to do well. So I love that. Listen, amazing to see. 350 likes, 926 viewers. Absolute insanity. But yeah, my daughter's looking after her little brother right now, so I need to relieve her from her duties because she'll be thinking, Dad, hurry up. Harry's doing me nothing. So I am going to have to shoot back downstairs. Big up to the eldest for that. Big up to yous in the chat for watching and supporting the channel. I will be back at 6 o'clock for White Rose Rivals. There's 7 of us tonight. I'm a little bit worried about how it's going to flow and if we can get everybody in and try condense it. But I'll work something out, I'm sure. So there's me, there's Hal, there's Cossie. Cossie's back. There's Ash, there's Matt, there's Tom, and then there's a Barnsley fan, I forgot his name, from Tykes TV. Any Americans watching or people outside of Yorkshire, you may need subtitles for some of the lads on the stream. I can't lie to you. Because if you think Sheffield's broad, you wait till you speak to a Barnsley fan. They don't know what they're going to be talking about. Anyway, that's you in a bit. See you lads.